Hey everybody, welcome to LiveCast Conversations with episode 82. As always, I'm your host, Gene Bernier, the co-active coach. And in this episode, we have Jeff J. Hunter. Jeff builds personal brands for accomplished CEOs and founders who are ready to leverage their business achievements to become influencers in their category. As a savage marketer, he builds brands and then shows his clients how to scale remote teams successfully. He's also the creator of the Core Branding Method and founder of brandedmedia.io, which is a 50-plus team branding agency. And he's also at South by Southwest right now. Jeff, thank you so much for jumping on the show today.
No, it's great. It's great to be here. And if for those of you watching don't recognize the logo, I'm actually here at Digital Marketer headquarters in Austin, Texas. So shout out to them for letting me borrow their studio in between all the work at South by Southwest.
Big thanks to Leverage It to be able to be here today, man. So, before we got kind of kicked off, we were really kicking around the topic of personal branding and how that's played such a big role in your own journey.
Yeah, well, little did I know that changing my LinkedIn profile back when I worked in the corporate world would have launchpaded me into what I'm doing now. But I remember for those of you who have corporate jobs or you've worked for somebody and you update your LinkedIn profile, I found out the hard way when I got a phone call from my boss and he was like, hey, I noticed that you updated your LinkedIn profile. Like, should I be worried? It was a threat. They thought maybe I was going to be leaving the company. And now I truly understand the power of a personal brand, which has allowed me to, create leveraging the results and achievements from one business and move into a new business with no market, no viable product, launch something and have an instant audience leveraging the people that have already followed me and I've gained their trust with my previous company. And now it's become kind of an obsession for me. And and I do the same thing that I've done for myself, for my clients. That's pretty much it.
That's really interesting. To hear you say it's an obsession for you that's an interesting take on it. So what about this gets you so revved that this can become an obsession? I'm going to assume a healthy obsession.
Yeah, I think that there's healthy obsessions and maybe not so healthy obsessions, but I think it's pretty healthy to be obsessed with your work. As a matter of fact, I have, you can't see him, but Linnell, who's actually my personal trainer, he's been hanging out with me the last couple of days, keeping me accountable. I'm tired of being fat, so speaking of personal brand, it's part of your personal brand is your image, right?
Yep. And
not only does that go digitally, but also what you look like in your physical form, which right now is a little bit bigger than I'd like. So, I'm a larger than life kind of guy, but, not that kind of large, what I'm saying? No, but in all reality, like an example of that is when I went to hang out with Mark DeGrasse, he's the CEO of Digital Marketer. My boy Linnell was hanging out with me and we were doing some cool stuff. And actually I needed a ride. So I said, hey, you want to take me over there? And we start talking about different things. And Mark is actually in his training program. And we were talking about the differences of traditional fitness and what it really looks like and how entrepreneurs really struggle with fitness. I said, that would be a really good topic on your podcast. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I think people really like that. And I said, Linnell, you should totally be on his podcast. Right? So, so I was leveraging my personal brand and my
Yeah.
relationship, right, to get Linnell on the show. And obviously, Linnell understood the power of being on a platform like Digital Marketer. And
Yeah.
also, shout out to you, Linnell. You also started building that relationship, so you knew. And what I've learned is whether you have an online business or an offline business, it's so important to build connections and relationships with
Mhm.
people and show them that you can give value to them and their audience, and vice versa. You know that
Right.
they can add value to you. And I think that if we embrace a more spirit of collaboration and how we can all help each other, man, that just drives business for everyone. It's just that
Oh,
spirit of
100%.
collaboration.
I agree with you, Jeff. Like the idea of like competition, I look at it more like collaboration. If we all work to make the pie bigger, we'll get a bigger piece of pie at the end of the day. If there's
That's
more to
it.
go around, there's just more to go around, right? Like versus hoarding it all to
Yeah,
yourself.
we're
And
just gonna bake more pies.
well, you kind of like one thing as you were talking about it is you referenced like relationship and branding. Was there a point in like your early times when you like realized, be like, oh, this is actually my brand is about building these relationships with people versus like the shiny object you can be online?
Yeah, I would say it goes back to 2017. Um, I started building my business January-ish, February-ish of 2014. It was an idea, just like everyone else. I still had a full-time job. I was
Yeah.
a Fortune 500 project manager in a past life, and that's when I started updating my profile, like I was telling you about, and got that call. But what's really interesting is when I started working with people, and this predates to me being an entrepreneur. Actually, this goes back to my very first boss, Danny Zhang. I'm going to shout out to Danny Zhang. He owned a computer store, and I used to work there for free.
Okay.
I used to get off school. I was in high school, and my grandpa would drop me off over there, and I would just go hang out and learn how to use computers and build
Yeah.
things. And I have a very builder mind, and I built a relationship with Danny, the owner, and the other team members there. And when Danny launched another company, it was a networking company. Um, I told him that I wanted to work at that company,
Yeah.
and he actually approached me and said, "Hey, you should learn how to use VPNs, virtual private networks and things like that." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And he hired me, and I ended up getting a job working at a wellness center. It was basically a private hospital type of a situation. It had a little operating room inside and all this, but there was like doctors and lawyers and dentists and stuff like that in there. And here I was the IT guy,
Yeah.
for the wellness center. And that was when I realized is, oh shoot, like he could have hired all these real seasoned qualified professionals, and here I am, this fresh out of high school college kid,
Yeah.
still doesn't have a degree, and I get the position because I was able to leverage the trust that I've already
Ooh,
built with him,
there it is.
right?
Yeah.
So I would say it spans back to those earliest moments when I started realizing that people want to build things with people they trust.
Yeah. That's powerful, right? Like because you can still have that relationship, but if there isn't that underpinning of trust, is like it's almost that's the catalyst to the greatness of opening up some of these doors and that opportunity, right? The old saying, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. It's true.
Well, I will tell you this. I'm going to go a step further than that. It's not even who
All
you
right.
know, it's who knows you. And
Oh.
actually, it's who you help.
Oh,
All
there
right.
it is.
And the reason why is because I know lots of amazing people that are really skilled and talented, but they suck as people. I also
Yeah.
know people that are very unreliable. And oh man, there's not a whole lot of things more frustrating than someone who has an incredible skill set and they're so talented and they don't show up.
Oof.
It's just like the worst waste of talent,
Yeah.
Like even for me, I would rather take someone who's at 70 or 80% skill level, as someone who's 100% or 115% of most if they show
Yeah.
up every day. The three things that I hire people for in my business, I have over 170 people now between my businesses.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I hire them for three main things. One is adaptability. What is their ability to adapt and learn new things? The second is work ethic. Do they show up to work? Are they reliable? And the third, you definitely can't teach this. They have to give a damn. Okay. Do these people actually give a damn? Do they care about the work that they do? And it's very easy to see, by the way, about all three of those abilities by testing them and seeing how they do. But unfortunately, they're not things you can teach someone.
No, those are the. Yeah, that's an interesting component. I was going to ask about how do you test for the give a damn, right? I think that's like the byproduct of their actions, right? And showing up and like, do they have the adaptability? Are they willing to, like, when it comes to adaptability, are they willing to hit those challenging parts and be like, oh, okay, F it, I'm still going to keep moving through this. Right? Yeah. That to me, like, starts to give what I would look for hints of that give a damn. What, like, how do you look for the hints of the give a damn in those relationships? And
well, here's the real hard part too, is the give a damn factor can change day to day, right? Yeah. So it's actually our role and responsibility as a leader to make sure that people give a damn. And the best way to show is to actually give a damn yourself, right? Yeah. Like, I show up to my work every day, even days I'm sick or whatever, like, I'm there, I'm on a phone call, even if it's a 30-minute phone call, unless my heart stops beating, I don't really know if I have an excuse, or maybe, I go into a coma or something. Like, I mean, we already work remotely. Like, I've literally taken, and there's other people in this room here that are going to laugh because they know this is 100% true. Like Frank, I've been on team calls where, like, I'm traveling somewhere and I'm trying to rush to an airport or whatever. I'm like taking a shower. Like today, I did my team call, full reality, no lies, from the shower. I did half my call in the shower because they were kicking me out of my Airbnb, and I was not going down to digital marketer headquarters smelling like last night. Right? So like, that's proving that I give a damn, right? Yeah. It's showing up. It's really putting in the work and really working on focusing on developing the relationships, not just with my clients, but also my own team members, and showing that, we're collaborative. And as far as what you said earlier about testing their skills and their adaptability, for me, I give people instructions to do something that are very limited. And I want to see if they can Google things to figure it out. Because we live in an age where, like, man, if I ask you a question, like, and you can't Google that, like, bro, you do not work for me, period. Like, let's get it figured out, Yeah. So, and of course, reliability and work ethic, those are very easy to test because do they show up? Like my assistant, Jacqueline, she's on every call 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes early. And she's always, before the end of the day, she's always asking me, like, hey, are we done? Do you need anything else? What's going on? So like I want to make sure that people are, like, really committed and dedicated to the cause.
That's really cool, man.
That's part of your brand.
Yeah, and I was about to say that ties back.
That's a part of your brand. Like that. This is something that bothers me. People don't understand the energy that you put out, your commitment, your results, what you do for your clients. Like your how you show up is a part of your brand, and whether it's intentional or not, like, you're building or you're destroying your brand by your actions, your results, your actions, how you treat people. That is a more important part of your brand than any website, than any cover photo, than any stupid post you write on Facebook, more than any sales video or sales letter or email. The best and most strongest part of your brand is showing up and putting yourself into a position to be valuable to others.
Right. And that value can change depending on the situation and everything. But as you're talking about it, it's like, it's not so much about, like you say, not about the website, not about your post or what, people are putting in the comments. It sounds more like, it's like, what are people saying about you around the water cooler when they think no one's looking, right? It's like, are they going, man, Jeff's an awesome dude. Did you hear about what was going on? Versus like, Jeff, really? Come on.
Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, and now he sends, like, giant penises to space with people and stuff. Like, this guy, he does have a really good saying, he said that your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah,
I tend to agree. I think
I
that's
would think so.
a really good show. And also, I think that, if I look back to what has accredited me to most of my success in my personal brand is that people know that I will do whatever it takes. Like
Yeah,
even if things go bad, I'm going to make it right. I'm going to figure out a way to make something else, even if it's hiring someone to come in because I messed up.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, are you
Well,
willing to
yeah,
go that level to keep your commitments that you've
yeah.
promised people?
That's and again, that just speaks to the brand just kind of transcends be like who you are and how that works with it. So say you were obviously you alluded to at the start of the show that you've been able to leverage your personal brand, your relationships, the trust, and the value that you put out recently to launch a new project and take that off with you, right? And I think one of the keys that I was picking up from that is like doesn't matter what you did as far as like the work. It's like how did people connect and what did they think of you because they were following you, not so much necessarily the work. Is that kind of like does that hit for a bit of a breakdown on that?
I lucked out. Of all the businesses that I could have started in the early, 2012, 2013 era, that
Yeah,
decade, a virtual staffing agency, like I just, some of it I wish I could take credit for. It's a timing.
yeah,
It's just, a little bit of luck may be involved. But I knew I was onto something with the virtual teams because when I was working as a Fortune 500 project manager, most of our projects were moving remote. We would send an engineer out on site. He would set up a computer or a server. We'd have our engineers remote in and do
yeah,
the work from there. And it was increasing the value, the life value, the quality of life for my engineers and
right,
my network engineers, because they were now able to do a lot of the work and configuration from home instead of sitting in a server room at a hospital, which is I
yeah,
did a lot of infrastructure for hospitals. I was like in my mind thinking, man, this is the future. Like we can do so much remotely now because like most everything we do is on a computer,
yeah,
online, something like that. And I just started thinking this could really be something. So when I built out my virtual team and I positioned myself as the virtual expert, the virtual project, virtual team guy, and then I realized doing that from 2014 to 2017 that I actually was really, I really understood what building a brand was like. And I started getting people that would come to me and approach me for projects. They wanted me to build out a team for them. They wanted me to do different things. And I started realizing, okay, well, at this point, it doesn't matter what was on my website. Now, it does matter. Don't get me wrong. The website, the
yeah,
design, all that stuff, it does matter. It's part of your omnipresence. Like I'm wearing the swag right now, how I show up today, it's all intentional, right?
yeah,
Um, you have to be intentional about it. But I will tell you the factor that weighs the most, of course, is the results you get for people. The
mm,
achievements and results you're able to get is a really big, if not the biggest, part of your own
yeah,
personal brand professionally. Okay. So I was able to take that audience that I had built at VA Staffer and say, okay, cool. What else is it that my clients need? Instead of trying to find new clients, I said, what are other things that my clients need? Most of them are CEOs, they're entrepreneurs, they're like
yeah,
me, and they haven't discovered yet that the easiest way to help build their brand would also be by leveraging their brand,
right.
their
Well,
own
the
personal
results and
brand,
everything. Yeah,
right? So I started working with my clients to help them build their own brand. And then one of my clients, Dennis Yu, who's also a mentor of mine, he flies out to the Philippines with me to kick off a new project that we're working on together. And he's hiring my team in the Philippines to do. And he goes, Jeff, your team is top notch. He goes, you should start a branding agency. You are good at that. And I was like, really? And I literally woke up the next morning and I bought brandedmedia.io. And it's
yeah,
really interesting, by the way, because in 2018, when I bought the domain, I bought the domain because the .com wasn't available. That's why I said a little bit of luck is involved.
yeah,
I didn't know that the crypto craze was going to happen. I didn't know that the .io is like the king,
yeah,
right, in the digital space now. And So I got very fortunate there. We're working with a lot of awesome personal brands for, a bunch of crypto companies. And I know that we should have recorded our session before we
Oh,
started recording.
yeah.
But I've leveraged my brand, my personal brand, to launch a branding agency. We're killing it. We're slated for about 595 in revenue, 500, almost
Wow.
600,000 in revenue this year. The VA staffer agency is doing probably about 2.7 million this year. I started a brand new project called the Crypto Gaming Team, and I've already been on Ticker News. Yesterday, I was on live news in Australia, national news called Ticker News. I
Oh,
was
wow.
live on TV talking about the conflict of Russia and Ukraine and all these crazy things that are happening in the world,
Yeah.
and how important it is to have freedom of information, the freedom of speech, the freedom of transaction, just like with my crypto gaming team hat on. Okay.
That's very cool.
I was able to leverage my personal brand to create that whole NFT project that I haven't even launched yet, and I've already pre-sold 175.
There you go.
So this is all because of I've leveraged my personal brand and my results, my history of results and achievements for people.
Right.
So they believe me, they trust me, they believe that what I'm going to create is successful, much like Elon Musk has done with Tesla moving to SpaceX. I mean, could just a year ago? I mean, still there's people today that don't even know that Elon Musk is sending rockets into space and then landing them again.
Oh, I think the fourth, one of the newer ones just landed the other day for this fourth time, and now
It's
he's got the
crazy.
satellites, don't Neuralink, like the there's a component of like
You're
the
right. The satellite service, Starlink,
yeah
the Neuralink thing that's not even released yet, but kind of crazy. The
yeah
Boring Company drilling holes underneath the ground, right? He's got a
tunnel in
flamethrower.
Vegas,
Like
yeah.
he sold out the flamethrower. It was just he made a flamethrower with its only intention was to raise money for the Boring Company.
Yeah,
That thing sold out. Now it's like 2 or 3 times, 4 times more to buy one on eBay because there's a limited supply.
yeah.
I mean, the guy is the epitome of what a personal brand should do.
And it's all just results driven. That it's and the other part that I hear from your story is like there's a component of a time base to this too, right? Like there, I imagine if you had to restart everything, there's a component of like being that patience to going, okay, I got to work with the people, get the results, build upon that, then find more ways to give results to those people who are already kind of like in love with the in love with you and the results. Like that's that other part I heard when you talked about creating branded media. It's just like you already knew your clients and like what else can we do that's in and around this to like provide them even more value.
You know, it's
Oh well, they need
beautiful.
to do what I'm doing.
It's a beautiful realization to me, and I'm super proud of my team today because it just notched a little bit lower. But one of the things that we've done, and this is why there's such synergy. This is why, by the way, I'd always recommend if you're going to start a new company or a different company, it needs to have synergy with your previous company. It has to
Mm-hmm.
leverage the same target market base.
Yeah,
Like for me, if I own a virtual assistant agency that targets busy CEOs and founders trying to build businesses and they're overworked and their business is growing exponentially and they can't keep up and they need to have some assistance. That's the point.
yeah,
Then I know that they're a growing, thriving business. And I knew that those founders are doing something right. And that's why they need a personal brand. They want to leverage their
right.
personal brand to get access to more capital, right? To get more funding. They want to have more partnerships. I mean, the partnerships I've been able to build just because of my brand. Before the show, I was talking about the crypto gaming team and how I'm leveraging my already established personal brand to work with game developers to work on their tokenomics and do some analysis, and I'm actually getting paid by it. And I'm also
Yeah,
getting access to me and all my members into seed round funding and to private sales and to what they call whitelisting so that I get early access to projects at 25 to 35% off discount on public launch. I mean,
yeah.
this is huge, you
Oh, big
know?
time.
And so for me, there's a two-part thing. One, back to what you said, yes, it is a time-based thing. It takes time, and I feel like a lot of people give up and they switch to a new business or something before they've established what they've already got.
Yeah,
They try a different funky strategy or whatever, and They never really built the trust from the last ones. And they were like, why does no one trust me on the next one? Well, you haven't built the last one, right?
They're just jumping from hack to going, why isn't it kicked off yet?
Yeah. And the second thing is consistency. You have to show up. You have to show up. You have to keep doing things. You have to keep building stuff. And I think that for me personally, I've done a good job at that. I've set myself since 2017. I made a commitment to consistently post at least one time a day on my social media platforms. My mine of choice is Facebook. I've posted every day, if not more, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. By the way, I've found don't post more than 5 times a day. It's a waste. So, just 1 to 3 a day, something like that.
There's a little extra gem for everybody.
Little gem. Yeah. And by the way, here's the other thing. Okay. Here's the gem. Here's the gem of all gems. If they tune in and they're like, okay, cool. All you heard was this last segment from me here. The one thing that is really important, let's say 3 things, is you have to be very intentional with your brand. Okay. And by building intentionality, that means you have to have a core promise. What is it? Okay. What is that brand promise? What is it that you do for other people? Right. So for me, I build personal brands for CEOs and founders to become a more recognized expert in their space. Okay. That's what my brand promise is for branded media. Right. Yeah. My brand promise for VA staffer, it's the same. It's very similar. Right. I build scalable teams to help thriving and growing entrepreneurs and businesses, right? Yeah. You'll see that the target audience is kind of the same. CEOs and founders.
They're right in the middle there, yeah.
But I'm having a very clear, concise message. And all I'm doing is adding additional value to those people, right? And here's the other cool part. You have to have strategic and intentional content that you put out to back up your claims, right? I call this the pillars of expertise. These are your 5 pillars of expertise. So for me, it's about personal branding. It's about virtual teams and project management. It's about copywriting. It's about digital marketing and social media. And it's about, guess what? Crypto gaming and decentralized finance. Those are the only 5 things I really talk about. Yeah. Read every one of my posts. If it doesn't fit in there, if it doesn't help support, if those pillars are not holding up my promise, I don't talk about it. I might talk about my family here and there. I might talk about things that are going on in my life personally. But even there, they all kind of reinforce the brand and the trust, right?
Yeah.
So the last piece of that, and this is the part that people ignore. The last part of that is build intentional relationships. Build intentional relationships. So the reason I was able to be on Ticker News yesterday is because I built an intentional relationship with my good friend, Professor Karen Sutherland. What's up, Karen? Who I actually contributed in 2019 to her book. It's a textbook about social media. She said, hey, could I take your social media copywriting strategy and put it in my book? I said, absolutely. And she wrote a nice analysis. She put my picture in there. I got 2 dedicated pages in this curriculum that's in 40,000 of these books across universities all around the world now. Okay. And because I've helped her, right, in what she's doing and add value to her, she comes back to me and says, hey, look, I'm doing a segment on TV about the state of social media and what's happening right now, and I'd love to have you on. And she invited me to come on as a guest on the news. That's a seed that I planted back in 2019.
Yeah.
And it's just coming to fruition, right? So build intentional relationships, be consistent with your content, and build strategic relationships. And all of them should reinforce the promise that you are making with your brand.
Right. It's all these foundational pieces that prop up your brand. Man, there's a lot of good information in this episode. And I know that typically we go for another 15 minutes, but I know you've got to run. You've got a lot on your plate. So I want to free you up. So before I let you go, though, 2 things. Any shout-outs? You've done great at giving some shout-outs throughout the show that you want to give.
I want to thank you. It's been really incredible. I definitely have given my fair share of shout-outs on this. I want to give one last shout-out to my business partner, Trisha LeConte, who actually is the creative director at Branded Media. And having her on board has given me so much more time to shine and do what I love to do in the business, which is the marketing and side of it. And she's the creative person. She's on the call with my clients and going through their messaging and working on their copywriting, working on the visual design, the stuff that I really suck at. So I want to give a shout out to every single person in my life who makes me look good so that I can do what I actually like to do every day.
I love that, man. And then the last thing is I ask everybody on the show this one question. So we're going to hop in my time machine. We're going to go back 10 years. And when that door opens, you get to give yourself one piece of advice. What would that be, Jeff?
I wish I would have been way more intentional sooner. I think like most people, we start thinking about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And I think that there's several years of my life where I've kind of lost, where I just didn't know what I was wanting to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I think that sticking to something and having consistency is one of the most important things that you could possibly do. And like I said earlier, most people give up before it's really reached that momentous state. I just wish I could go back to myself 4 or 5 years ago and just tell myself that I don't need to learn everything. I don't need to know how to do everything. I just need to find the right people who already know how. It's not how, it's who.
Who? Oh, dude, that's a great place to leave this off on, man.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate every second. And by the way, I'm a Trekkie. I've been reading your magazines in the back.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Trekkie, and I can't remember. I don't even know how many times I sat in front of the TV with my mom watching Captain Janeway, Star Trek Voyager, and Next Generation.
Oh.
So I couldn't help but miss the Star Trek episodes back there. So.
Well, thank you, man. From one Trekkie to another, this has been a great experience and great conversation. And I know, like I say, you've got some things you got to jet off to, sir. So with that, we'll let you go. And for everybody else who's watched today and listening, thank you so much. This has been the LiveCast Conversations with, powered by Pealed back, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah.